I am Deborah M. Stewart, a custodian of the promptings of the divine mind in preparation for the bride of Christ, according to Matthew 22, 1 through 14, via the application of the principles of Jesus to obtain Christ consciousness. Today's subject matter in our studying of solar biology is going to be its preliminary philosophy. Chapter 1. This system is the philosophy of life in its relations to the physical or earthly existence as governed by the solar fluid of the solar system. First, we consider man in his animal relation to the physical world. Second, in his mental relation to the physical world and solar system. Third, in his spiritual nature and its relation to this world and to the universe. Between man's physical and his spiritual nature, there is a perfect line of graduation from the grosser physical to the higher spiritual, so that the mental and spiritual are wholly dependent upon the physical for their conscious relations to this world, as a house is dependent upon its foundations. We consider the physical body as a chemical laboratory. The food we take into the stomach passes through various stages of transmutation in the process of digestion, first becoming chyle, then blood. When it is thrown into the generative functions and becomes seed, then the seed, through the action of the same functions, is changed to lymph, a transparent, colorless fluid. The word lymph is derived from nymph, spirit, and this fluid is therefore quite properly called spirit water or water of life. After passing through these stages, it then begins to affect the mental conditions, and as it is carried by the lymphatic system through all parts of the body, it causes a pleasurable sensation in all the organs. The more the seed and fluids are retained in the body without waste, the greater fullness of life, health, and power is experienced by the person. If it were possible to discharge all this fluid, the body would soon die from blood poisoning. An abundance of this lymph gives a feeling of rest, happiness, and satisfaction under all circumstances, also physical strength and love of activity. This fluid aids in forming the bright red corpuscles of the blood and also assists the lungs in their work of purification. A portion of this regenerated blood passes into the spleen, where the pure white corpuscles are formed. From thence the most refined elements are taken up through the nerve system into the brain, and there changed into the subtle element of thought potency, giving power to mental action. There are three ways of spending the life forces. First, through the physical and muscular energies. Second, through the mental energies. Third, through the sex function. To whatever extent there is expenditure in either of these three channels, there will be so much less force in reserve for the others. Persons have mental energy or lack mental as well as physical power in proportion as they are chaste or licentious in their habits. And in delineating character, the most important thing to be noticed is their habit sexually. For if persons are inclined to be indulgent and waste their life forces and elements, so will they lack mental and physical power, and in proportion as they conserve these potencies and life fluids, will they have mental and physical ability. Many times, however, persons are unrestrained. Habits draw their physical power from others, but while they may thus be possessed of physical strength, they will lack mental clearness, accuracy, and the disposition to intellectual pursuits. There is no such thing as a lazy person in the usual sense of the word. Life is activity itself, and according to the quantity of life will be the degree of the disposition to act. If the life is concentrated in the sexual function and used up or wasted there, then the activity will be nearly all in that direction, and there will be lack of power in other channels in proportion as it is overactive there. Young persons are often thought to be lazy when the activity is centered in that function. Children addicted to self-abuse, being abnormally active in that respect, are indulgent in other directions, and this waste of vital force produces an excessive desire to sleep. Sleep is the condition most conducive to recuperation and regeneration of new life in the body. In the early day, there is the greatest danger with children of acquiring the habit of self-abuse. Therefore, parents should have their children form the habit of rising as soon as they wake in the a.m. The waste of this force in childhood is one of the main causes of the dwarfed condition of the many persons who are physically and mentally undeveloped. It will be observed that the person who, when young, were required by their parents to rise early and attend some physical labor are the ones who make the highest attainments in life. We also find that men whose brains are kept so active as to suppress all sexual inclinations have abundance of life force in brain and body, thus becoming physically and mentally strong. This will also perfect the intuitive nature, which is spiritual and relates us to the earthly and solar mind, so that we are enabled to know things that are to come. This intuitive faculty is the master and guide of the intellect, while the latter is the servant, the mechanic, the mathematician. Men and women who live chaste lives are successful in whatever pursuits they undertake, unless previously bound by circumstances, because, as we stated, this is the method by which the intuitive function is perfected. It is with man as with the little spider, whose chemical nature attracts the mental elements of the solar fluid, and by means of this element he is enabled to build that fine mechanical structure, the web. The mental power is not in him, but acts through him. So man, when he is charged the body with this element of life, attracts the mental principle of the solar fluid, unites it with its intelligence, and is thus enabled to know many things, but cannot always explain how he knows them. This is intuition. It is the same wonderful principle which informs the birds when the cold storms of winter are approaching, and instructs them to go south for self-preservation. Birds and beasts live in complete harmony with nature. They do not waste their sexual forces, and therefore display the wonderful sagacity noticed in the animate world below us. Man alone abuses this function, and to the extent that he does so, is he deprived of the divine guidance possessed by the whole animal world. The author has made it his business to examine with care the mental and physical condition of men and women who have had great success in life, and has found it an invariable rule that all such persons have been guided wholly by their intuitions, their reasoning faculties having been subordinate to this higher teacher. There are some persons who make great attainments and who have fine intuitions while living a licentious life, but the secret of their fine intuitions lies in the fact that their parents were chaste, thereby endowing them with a superior physical organism and mental intuitive faculties, and also that these same persons maintained chaste habits during childhood, yet their powers are far inferior to what they might be did they observe the law of chastity. The business world is controlled by two principles. First, love between man and man. Second, psychic or willpower, man over man. The intuitive powers, when properly developed, enable man to feel and understand what it is in others, Thus, when two men meet on a business plane, they are apt to feel each other's conditions and are thereby either attracted or repelled or even moved to love or hate. Let us illustrate. A man calls on another, desiring some financial favor. As soon as they meet, they feel that they can put confidence in each other simply because their honesty of purpose is intuitively recognized. Sometimes men are entrusted with large sums of money by strangers through this principle of confidence or love, as they intuitively feel the ability and honesty of that party thus entrusted. Young men just starting in life who make the principles of industry, honesty, and equity their guide, though they may have no capital whatever, will find little difficulty in obtaining credit and help in any business direction, for capitalists, being intuitive, readily discover in a young man the disposition to do justly by others and to be honest and upright under all circumstances, and willingly trust them to any desired extent. Whereas, if the young man has any disposition to take advantage of others or get all he can without rendering an equivalent, it is immediately perceived, and confidence in him is lost or withheld. The real motives and feelings of a person's heart are perceived by those who have developed their intuitive faculties through a chaste life, and they always love those of like morality and chastity. And as far as these conditions exist among businessmen, love is the controlling principle. The second ruling principle in business, the psychic power, is the force that has been conserved to the use of the brain and concentrated and sent out by the will, with a combative, subduing, or controlling intent. A man with a strong mind, having this physiological power well developed, is enabled to control those having less mental power, so that he actually projects into the other's mind his own feelings, thoughts, and desires, to the suspension of the other person's power to control themselves by their own will. This second stage of business life is one of combat, man against man, and the weapons used are the psychic or will powers. The one who has the most of this power will conquer and cause his fellow man to do that which he wills him to do. Thus, men are often caused to do things in business and even in social and domestic life that their most ordinary reason would tell them was erroneous or injurious, yet, under the powerful will of others, they do it without thought. Thus, the world is ruled by these two principles, love and psychic force, and those persons who have this sublimated life essence are unable to rule their fellows by the solar inspirations or drawing in of the solar mind force and sending it out clothed with their own conserved life and controlling mental energy. A perfect celibate or chaste life enables a person to create thought forms and send them out by his will to persons near or far so as to bring about desired results in controlling mental faculties or even physical conditions. Thus, a person conserving all the energies generated by the sexual function in his own body will soon be able to know from his intuitions how to heal disease conditions in his fellows by projecting his own life or soul essence into the part affected to remove the difficulty or to set in order the derangement. To accomplish this, one must subject the appetites, feelings, and emotions entirely to the reason and the intuitions. St. Paul gave some good advice on this subject as follows in Romans 12, chapters 1 and 2. I beseech you, brethren, therefore, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, or the age, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Again, Romans 8:6, for to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. It is necessary to conquer all abnormal excitement caused by stimulants or narcotics in order to establish an equilibrium between the supply and exhaust, and to bring about an harmonious condition between the person and God, or the cause world. Now, we'll get more into that later. And as soon as persons begin to really conquer these conditions, they will find, on closing their eyes to go to sleep, that consciousness will continue on during their slumbering hours in whatever sphere their sympathies had been engaged while awake. And unless this harmony between themselves and the cause world is secured, restlessness and unpleasant dreams will annoy them during sleeping hours. Many persons undertaking to conquer their passional nature so as to retain all the sexual fluids in their own bodies will find at first great difficulty in doing so. Some have pronounced the task impossible, but it is not. All who will can do so by constant persistency of purpose, having a fixed determination that they will not, under any circumstances, allow themselves to lose the vital fluid, charging the mind on going to sleep as if expecting an enemy, and thus continuing night and day. With some, it may take years, but others can conquer it in a short time. And when they begin to accomplish this, it should affect the appetite for at least 7 to 8 of all the food consumed by man is wasted through the sexual channels. Therefore, when that waste is shut off, a less amount of food is necessary to support the body, in proportion to the previous expenditure in that direction. We have known many persons who, after conquering this passion, only found it necessary to eat one meal a day, and that of pure vegetables, abstaining entirely from animal food, but hard labor would increase the demand for food. Persons living in this life must study carefully to adjust the supply to the demand. In a word, must establish an equilibrium. This balance attained will produce a feeling of satisfaction, rest, and harmony, such as is necessary to produce the best intellectual and spiritual results and to harmonize the soul with God, or the cause world. Without this union, there will be darkness and confusion, which is the primary cause of all mental, moral, and physical disease. Involution and evolution. Involution is that law of thought formation operating through the movements of the planets of our solar system, whose activities descend into Earth conditions and find their expression in the forms of all life, animal, vegetable, and mineral. Thus we come to know the nature of the incarnate thought by its form and quality. We determine the character of a person's, we judge of the physical characteristics by means of the hair, the eyes, the fingernails, the skin, and the organic structure of the body and brain. If we find the body coarse, bones large, animal functions of brain dominant, and reason low, we determine that the organic quality is coarse and on a low plane. The general mental characteristics may also be determined by the fingernails and the hair. If the nails are thick and strong, we know that the mental functions are rather coarse and strong and allied mainly to the physical. And on the contrary, if the nails are thin and pliable, it indicates fine and sensitive nerve structure with mental functions equally fine and active. The hair, when coarse, implies general thought, materialistic tendencies, and rather coarse sensibilities, yet there are many belonging to the realm of fine art that have coarse hair. In this case, Their sensibilities relate to the cognizance of physical nature. Very fine hair indicates very fine sensibilities and fine discriminative quality of mind and mental consciousness. All these characteristics must be graded and their qualities decided by their relation to the two extremes. Straight hair indicates directness of character and habits and evenness of temper. Curly hair indicates changefulness and directness of character, uncertainty in thought and feelings, and frequently great excitability. All thought formations interact one upon another, reproducing their kind under the law of generation, which is a method of creation. These thought principles are being evolved and refined until they come to a state of maturity, which in the highest order of humanity raises them above the law of carnal creation. Then the intuitive nature begins to govern and instruct such advanced souls in the necessity of controlling and conquering natural generation, and through this process the spiritual nature becomes alive to the cause world, and they are thus elevated above the necessity of being again involved in matter. When any person is able to conquer the passional nature, he is lifted into and becomes conjoined to the immortal state to which Jesus in his teachings so often referred. But this will only apply to the most mature persons on our planet. For while water continues to course through the brooks and streams of earth, generation will continue, and in every stage or graduation of informant, this law of generation will be the controlling power of all. Except the few who are able to conquer its influence, as Jesus said when questioned, "He that is able to receive it, let him receive it." I hope that you enjoyed this second session of Solar Biology. I look forward to meeting you right back here next week on Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. I want to thank you for your patience with me during this holiday season. And once again, abracadabra, amen, ashe, namaste, whatever it is you want to say, till we meet again.